Jaguar Wright has now allegedly released a leaked phone call in which Sean Diddy Combs can be heard telling someone on his team to get rid of anything that could still connect back to him. If this recording is real, it's serious. If the federal agents discover that evidence has been moved or destroyed, it could completely remove any chance Diddy has of getting out of prison.
The fire investigator said he took those slides as a part of his investigation to see if he could match anything that was found on the bottle inside the car. And he said if that evidence had been destroyed, he would have had to sign off on it. But an LAPD officer who is not involved in the investigation at all signed off on the destruction of that evidence.
Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes.
The what?
All the boxes left over from the pizza. All the boxes.
Okay.
Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about.
Yeah.
Did Jay reach out yet?
Nah, Bob. He ghosting.
What the f is this motherfucker doing?
It's all good. You about to get out on bail.
No. Hey, yo, check this out. Need you to reach out to the producer. Let these motherfuckers know there's a release date for that new Netflix movie.
Alright, Pop. What about all these lawsuits, though, Pop?
Ain't none of them getting shit. I ain't worth nothing. Ain't got shit in my name anyway. Don't even worry about it. Bunch of money hungry.
During the call, he also mentions pizza boxes and brings up reaching out to Jay about a Netflix project. At first glance, these subjects might look random, but many people believe these phrases are coded messages connected to something far darker. So let's go through everything being discussed and what this leaked call might mean. For the allegations surrounding Diddy, the call begins with Diddy speaking to his son, King Combs. The first thing Diddy says is basically, "Don't say anything on the phone." That alone tells you he is being cautious. Everyone knows that calls from jail have been recorded for decades, so the warning hints that he doesn't want certain things said out loud. Then Diddy brings up getting rid of the leftover pizza boxes. Most people do not believe he is talking about real pizza. No one expects Diddy to have old pizza boxes lying around. People online think it's code for something he wants gone, possibly something he doesn't want investigators to find. A lot of viewers believe he may be referring to blackmail-type videos or recordings that the federal team may not have located yet.
When the feds come to them and show them what they got on tape, because if he had 250 tapes all over, 250 cameras all over the house, somebody got caught stealing a cookie out the cookie jar. It could be your favorite pastor. It could be your favorite politician. But they didn't think they was being watched. And Brother Love was watching.
Yeah, I mean, TD Jakes, he hasn't even came out and said anything. And him and Diddy was real cool.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, man. And I know the people in the congregation over there is shaking in their boots because this man didn't led them probably, allegedly led them to damnation because those people's hearts are gonna be broken if that man is seen on those tapes doing anything. Because people always put their faith in the pastor instead of putting their faith in God. And what they need to do is understand that he's just a man. And he has a history. It's not looking too good for him.
So you feel like celebs are worried that they might be on tape?
Oh, they know. That's why they ain't speaking up or saying nothing. Yeah, I was at a Diddy party, but I know I ain't do nothing. When you don't know somebody's taping you, when you don't know that somebody is videoing you in some kind of form or fashion, you got that alcohol, you got the drugs in you, they're a little loose, bruh. They let down all their inhibitions. The music is pumping. He said it himself. He got it so hot in there that you gotta take your clothes off. He said that himself, bruh. So a lot of them, like what he said? I think a lot of them was being swallowed.
After that, he tells King to recycle the plastic again. Recycling is not usually a concern for someone sitting in jail. People question what plastic could mean: CDs, DVDs, tapes, hard drives, memory cards, or other items that store information. Whatever the code refers to. Many believe it suggests he wants more material removed before anyone can access it. In other words, people think he's trying to get evidence destroyed.
Prosecutors asked the fire investigator in charge of the case about fingerprint cards that were taken from the home when they were investigating the burglary about a month earlier. The fire investigator said he took those slides as a part of his investigation to see if he could match anything that was found on the bottle inside the car. And he said if that evidence had been destroyed, he would have had to sign off on it. But an LAPD officer who was not involved in the investigation at all signed off on the destruction of that evidence. And that's when the defense freaked out, stopped everything, and called for a mistrial.
Okay, slow that down one more time. You said the destruction of the evidence, that is, the fingerprint card, was ordered by someone not connected to the arson investigation?
Correct. That's what that fire investigator testified to. And he said he found that very, very odd. That was not typical procedure.
Okay, what was the ground for the mistrial? Diddy's defense team goes crazy when that comes into evidence that someone ordered the destruction of that fingerprint card with a female fingerprint on it. Was that female someone that worked for Sean Combs? That's the big question. Do we know who ordered the destruction of the fingerprint evidence, Sydney? Can't be that hard to find out. And what was the grounds for the mistrial?
So that's exactly what the defense team is getting at. They called that prosecutorial misconduct because the prosecutors were suggesting that Combs ordered that evidence be destroyed and somehow paid off investigators to make that happen.
Then comes another part that caught people's attention. Diddy asked, did Jay reach out yet? King replies, no, Pop. He's ghosted, if Jay means Jay-Z, which many think is likely. It suggests that Sean Carter may be distancing himself from Diddy because of the legal trouble and the public accusations.
Brought you on to speak on Diddy, and it seemed that as if your focus turned to Jay-Z, his wife.
That's always been my focus.
Yes. What?
They're one and the same. Tell me something. When you have a peanut butter jelly sandwich, if it's just peanut butter, it's just peanut butter. If it's just jelly, it's jelly. When you put it together, it becomes a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and the taste is undeniable.
You saying Diddy and Jay-Z is peanut butter jelly?
Peanut butter and jelly. Let's deal with the sandwich.
We asked you this last time, and Piers Morgan said it. They're not here to defend themselves. Do you think they will, the Carters will speak about any of this at all? Do you just feel that they'll make any statement about what's going on?
Beyonce is losing hundreds of thousands, millions of followers every day. And she still hasn't said anything. Just pretending like life is great in Paris.
Later in the call, Diddy tells King to reach out to the producer working on an upcoming Netflix project, the same one connected to the series 50 Cent is releasing about Diddy's parties and behind-the-scenes activity. So now people are wondering whether Diddy is trying to stop that series from coming out, or at least trying to influence what appears in it.
50 Cent has revealed the release date for his Diddy documentary. Sean Combs' The Reckoning is hitting Netflix on December 2nd. 50 Cent captioned it, "They said I was capping. What happened?" And it's been so long at this point, I thought maybe he was really just joking and this documentary wasn't happening, but obviously I was wrong. Because this is actually official. Not only is 50 Cent just posting this, so he's not trolling, it's being confirmed by multiple media outlets. And I have a feeling right now Diddy is sweating about what 50 Cent is about to put in this documentary. You know, 50 Cent's connection when it came to the Diddy trial. Not only that, we cannot forget during this Diddy trial, it was alleged that Diddy wanted to off 50 Cent. 50 Cent stays trolling Diddy, so I am afraid that he is probably about to drag Diddy for filth in this documentary. It's about to be so bad. This is going to be a documentary that I'm going to watch just because I want to see how 50 Cent actually puts together this documentary.
But another group of people believes the opposite, that the phone call wasn't about blackmail footage at all. They say the federal investigators already have enough digital material to use against him, so Diddy might instead be referring to something tied to a different ongoing case. This brings us to the long-running investigation into the death of Tupac Shakur. Former LAPD detective Greg Kading, who worked directly on the Tupac case, has spoken about details he uncovered years ago. Many of those details still surprise people today. According to Kading, during his investigation, he was told that Diddy had offered $1 million for Tupac and Suge Knight to be targeted. The person who gave him that information was Keith D., the same man, who is now officially charged in Tupac's case all these years later.
Mr. Sachs, go ahead.
So, Judge, this is sort of a...
What is the deal in the new case?
The deal with the new case is that he was on the strip to...
No, what did he plead to? What is he supposed to be pleading to?
The prelim went forward.
Okay.
It was bound up.
Okay. Okay, then you don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
I was just asking, I thought that case was negotiated, but the prelim went forward and he got bound up. Okay.
He was on Las Vegas Boulevard to follow up with some job applications. He had worked there before, even though he has some convictions. He had job applications at Burlington Coat Factory in Canes. So he goes to follow up with those, and then this happens with the new jurisdiction that has been created.
In the book, you said the third day after getting back from Vegas, you guys met up with Zip in L.A.
At Wingstop.
At Wingstop.
Yeah. Not Wingstop, but Hot Wings. LA Hot Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you said that Puffy called and said, "Was that us?" And you didn't say nothing.
I didn't say nothing. Yeah, you're right.
There's also, you go into the book, that apparently there was supposed to be $1 million that Zip was supposed to bring back, but he ended up keeping the money and buying a nightclub with it.
That's what the FBI said.
The FBI said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys never got any money?
Never.
For anything?
Nothing. Not even a pair of Sean John drawers. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. It seemed like Puff do that though. He seemed like every time some bad go around here, it looked like it's on the grass.
Keith D also said Diddy was so afraid of Tupac and Suge at one point that he even had Navy SEALs protecting him.
Yeah, I met you in what was that? We had a place called Compton Hydraulics, and he called and asked to use some lowriders. And I pulled over my '64, and he had Usher. Usher was a little kid, like 13, 14, and Usher like, "Mom, I want to buy that car." Ooh. I said, "Young man, this car ain't for sale right here. It's priceless. It's like my girl." You know what I'm saying? But that's when I met Puff. Then he gave it. I met him that day. That was like, what is it, 91? That's when I met Puff. I met him, then after that Big Jake stuff, I guess he knew that Zip knew me, and he called and he said, "How you feel about me going to concerts out there?" I'm like, "What's gonna happen?" He like, "Man, I'm scared of the big boy." I mean, you know, he didn't say it in that type of words, but he like the big CEO guy. You know what I'm saying? The first time we went to the concert, it was in San Diego, and this nigga had Navy SEALs in the next room. They looked like the FBI with earpieces and everything. Like, damn. And that tripped me out. Like, man, what the fuck you need with them? He like, man, I'm just gonna be safe. Matter of fact, the Dallas Cowboys was in the stayed in the same hotel with us that night. They was in the same, Dallas Cowboys was playing the San Diego Chargers. And Deion then was playing for them. Deion, Michael Irvin, Aikman, and Emmitt Smith. Them. There's all. There was somebody at that hotel was pathetic, boy. Shocking them dudes, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But yeah, that night, he had Navy SEALs up in there. You can ask Gene Deal, you think I'm lying. You know what I'm saying? The next one. What the f?
It's striking because the same people and the same concerns keep resurfacing. Almost like the story never really ended. Kading also said his opinion of Diddy changed over time. He explained that Diddy was not helpful when investigators were trying to gather information about the deaths of Tupac and Biggie. Considering how close he was to both situations, his lack of cooperation stood out. Looking back, Kading believes Diddy might have avoided speaking because he didn't want to reveal anything that could link him to either case.
I can tell you regarding Diddy back when Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls were murdered. He wasn't exactly cooperative. He didn't do what you would assume a friend or a manager, so to speak, would do. So from a law enforcement perspective, he was very unhelpful in an area where he ought to have been contributing towards getting some type of justice in those two cases. But as we found out in time, he was complicit in one of them, and which would make sense why maybe he didn't cooperate in the other, because the two were, they were just, we always understood that they were somehow interconnected. And so if you're going to cooperate or provide information on one and you're culpable in the other, one thing could lead back to the next. And that's where I think he understood his own vulnerability.
It's interesting because recently I did an interview with Suge Knight from prison, and he made the allegation that Diddy's been an informant for 20 years.
Yeah, everything that Suge says ought to be taken with a grain of salt. I mean, nobody lies more than Suge Knight. Suge Knight is one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever met throughout this whole entire a story as it relates back to either Tupac or Biggie's. And so I take everything that he has with a grain of salt. Most of what he says is pure speculation. It's just based on stories he's heard and just hearsay and all of that. And again, we kind of, as Christian men, ought to be careful about falsely accusing people, because even when those things turn out to be untrue, the damage is already done just by, you can't unring a...
Kading checked old federal files from the 1990s and said there was no evidence that Diddy was an informant back then. However, that only covers the 90s, so it doesn't rule out the possibility that he could have become an informant later. As for the claim that Diddy ordered a hit on Tupac, Kading said he believes Keefe D's story because the rest of Keefe D's statements in 2008 and 2009 were proven to be accurate. When you look at the record label tension, the friendships, the gang connections, and the fear many people felt during that era, the story fits the bigger situation.
And when he told us about the solicitation for Tupac's murder, it made sense within the context of the ongoing rivalry that was taking place between Puffy and Suge, Biggie and Tupac, and the gangs that they were affiliating with. So there's already a well-established history. And so once he tells us that, Puffy was scared to death. He knew he had a target on his back. Every time he came to LA, Suge's goons were, trying to track him down. They had kidnapped somebody in furtherance of trying to find out where Puffy's mother and family lived. So all of this led to support or substantiate the claims that Keith Davis was making about Puffy's solicitation. Originally, I thought that the solicitation was somewhat just an expression of exaggeration. Like, man, these motherfuckers are breathing down my back. They want me dead. When they go and he gives us this explanation of the solicitation, I thought that perhaps Puffy was just really desperate and afraid. He's like, man, I'll give you whatever you want to take care of these guys. I just don't want to have to come into LA and, look over my shoulder. So I thought it was that. But as things unraveled in the last decade, I'm seeing a completely different character and nature of Puffy that I didn't take into consideration at that time. Now I see maybe he's capable of doing something as direct and intentional as what Keefe D was saying happened.
Keating also explained how the conflict between Diddy and Suge Knight began. At first, the labels were friendly, but things shifted when Bad Boy Records tried to expand into the West Coast, and Death Row Records attempted to move into the East Coast. Everything escalated after Suge Knight's close friend and bodyguard, Jake Robles, was shot and killed in Atlanta by someone tied to Diddy's group. From that point on, it wasn't just a business issue, it became personal.
As soon as Puffy's bodyguard shot Suge's bodyguard, now blood was on the ground. Now it's an actual feud where there's nowhere to go but, towards retaliation.
So that's where it started then. Two bodyguards shot at one another.
One shot and killed the other.
Oh, okay, I got it. And that was back in Atlanta?
That was in Atlanta. And this was what? It was 1995, I believe it was.
And then Tupac was shortly after that, and then Biggie shortly after that, within a year or two.
Yeah, Tupac in September of 96 and Biggie in March of 97. But there was all kinds of other drama and hostility and gunplay that had taken place in between those individual events.
And in your investigation, I mean, were you able to turn a lot of people, flip a lot of people, create a lot of informants?
Absolutely. We say this all the time, everybody has a number, and you get them pressed up against a wall, and there's a number that they aren't willing to do insofar as a prison term. And when they need to wiggle themselves out of it, more often than not, they do by providing information to the law enforcement.
And let me ask you this, Greg, regardless of, and this is something I learned, regardless of, all of the advancements in technology and video surveillance and everything, most of these cases don't survive without witnesses, without informants. Would you find that to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah, informants are still one of our strongest tools.
Still, Keating believes Diddy is unlikely to face charges relating to Tupac's case. People are now questioning whether this is because evidence connected to that case may have been moved recently. Many believe that's exactly what happened. When Keating was asked what would be needed to build a strong case against Diddy, he was straightforward. Even if Keefe D told the truth about Diddy requesting the hit, there still isn't enough evidence to officially charge him.
Detective, what do you feel is needed, or what would you be comfortable having to present a case against Puffy? With all the information that we know today, what would you need, in your professional opinion, to actually try to pursue him?
Well, if the claims that Keefe D made about the multiple solicitations happened, and I believe there were conversations, but if those things were a true bona fide solicitation for murder, then you're going to need some really strong, credible, corroborating witnesses. You're going to need people that said, I was there when a financial transaction took place and it was very clear what that money was for. I was there when the agreement was made. I spoke with Puff about it and he told me that he'd hired these guys. You're going to need some really strong, credible witnesses to support what Keefe D said. Absent that, you're dead in the water.
So do you think it'll ever be possible that anything will get to Puffy, or no?
Not, in my opinion, I don't see it happening.